It came in the form of a letter, and coincidentally it arrived on my birthday, which is towards the end of November. And I opened it and I thought, I don't understand this. What is this, a joke? Is this somebody's idea of a joke? So I had to read it a few times. I had to read all the way through to the end of the first paragraph before I actually realised what it was saying to me. And it was asking if the Prime Minister could ask the Queen to give me an honour.
An MBE.
An MBE.
To be factual about this, you know, huge plaudit really to the work that you have done, specifically about diversity in trades. I will come to that in a moment, but I want to look at your background first, because you started off as a teacher. You were teaching for a long time and actually then decided to make the change. What was going through your mind at that point?
I was a psychology graduate. So I'm interested in people, and I think that runs through everything I do. And so when I specialised in young childhood education, I was interested in the way their brains worked. So I went into teaching, and I thought that was the perfect way that I could express myself in and find out everything about children and how everything works. And however, for me, the education system kind of changed. It changed, and then it stopped fulfilling me. And I thought, actually, what I need to do is do something for myself. And I knew I was going to be self-employed, but I didn't know what I was going to do.
Right.
So I searched around, and I kind of thought, it's a funny way, the way I actually came to plumbing, because, I mean, a bit airy-fairy, but I am a water sign. So I'm a water baby. I love water. And when I was at school in the 70s, I wanted to do engineering and metalwork. And they literally said to me, those are for boys.
Yeah.
So I couldn't do them. So I had to do cookery and needlework. And so I learnt to cook and do needlework. But my yearning was for how things worked. So I put that together, put metalwork and water together, and you come up with plumbing. So I thought, let me give it a go. So I found an evening class, I enrolled, and I went on, and immediately, like almost the first second, I knew I was going to love it.
Yeah. As good a plumber as you are, you didn't get this award because of your skills with metal and water.
No.
Actually, what was recognised here was the way in which you've created a network to show other women what they're capable of. Where was the drive for that? Why did you think, actually, I've done this, now I need to show others they can do it too?
Again, I think it does come back to the thing about knowing how things work and the whole education thing. I do believe once you're a teacher, you can't actually stop being a teacher. So when I built a fantastic business by myself, you know, and I couldn't get a job, so I self-employed myself and day released myself to college, and built up my client base like that. And what was starting to happen was, when I finally got a website, and I was still isolated, I still didn't know another female plumber, and I wanted to find them. So I found ways of finding them. This was before the days of the internet, of course. So I found ways of finding them, and I created eventually I created a website, and people started finding me. And I started to realise, and listening to their stories, that things hadn't really changed. In the 16 years I'd been a plumber, between 1990 and 2006, things hadn't changed for women, or, you know, they were still saying I'm the only woman in my class. You know, I was never told I could be a plumber. I've always wanted to be one. I've tried and I've been knocked back, and all of the same things that was happening to me. So I thought, actually, there may well be a way that I can help. So I got an apprentice, and but even having an apprentice, I felt like it was there were more people needing me than I could help if I had an apprentice, because it basically tied me to one person and one location. And I thought, actually, what I need to do is create more of me, so that we can all share the load, really.
Has that process of creating more of you improved the way that customers react when a woman comes to do the job? Or do you still find that in this day and age there is that stereotypical view that actually I'm hiring a plumber, so the man's coming?
I think that's an interesting question. Still today, in fact, a couple of months ago, I was at an event and I was wearing my branding, and somebody came up to me and they said, "A woman plumber?" And I thought, wow, we're in the 21st century. I can't believe people are still thinking that we don't exist. And that was a shock to me, because I guess when you're in a kind of a bubble of doing what you're doing, and you know, we've created an event now, and we have installers, women installers come from all over the country to this event once a year in London, which, you know, I'd like to invite any female plumber listening to this to get in contact with us and come to it, because it's free. And they can meet other people. But you kind of forget what's going on in the real world outside. And so in another way, the MBE is really going to open doors to enable me, perhaps even by talking on this programme, to have ordinary people hearing that we do exist, you know, and we're very good at our job, and don't be shocked and even look for us.
Yeah, just in terms of the, you know, you're living outside of London now, but you're a Londoner through and through, born and bred here. You've still got a good idea about what the landscape's like here in terms of what's required in this industry.
Sure.
Is there a demand for trade people, skilled people in these trades?
Well, I don't know if it was talked about before, but we've done some research in the demographic of plumbers at the moment, and we've discovered that the average age of plumbers is 57.
Right.
And less
It's
than
almost like a dying industry.
Less than 6% of those are under 35. So we are desperate. You know, there's a huge gap, skills gap coming. If we don't start bringing more plumbers in, of, you know, good plumbers of any description, but good, if we don't start bringing them in, then 5 years' time, it's already difficult for people to find plumbers. You talk to anybody on the street, you'll say, "Oh, it's a nightmare, I can't find a plumber." Or they say, "I need somebody I can trust, and I'm a little bit afraid of going to just anybody. You know, I need somebody to recommend somebody," which I always say is the best way anyway. But we are, yes, there's definitely a need for more plumbers.
Just briefly then, in terms of with that former teacher hat on, how frustrated are you when we hear from young apprentices who say, actually, even these days we're being told that perhaps we should focus on a career in hospitality, or actually perhaps we should be going to university because that's what everybody does?
Yeah. Well, I mean, let me tell you, people who are watching, I went to university, and I did do a profession, but I left it, and it was the best decision I ever made. The working in construction in general, but plumbing is a fantastic career. It's wonderful to be able to fix things, to be able to solve problems, to be a hero in other people's eyes, and you earn good money. You know, I didn't do it for the money, but the money's good. Yeah. So, you know, if I was, in fact, I can say certainly that within 5 years of teaching of plumbing, I earned more money than I had earned in my entire teaching career.
That sums it up, doesn't it? Very nicely. Hattie, we're out of time, but lovely to talk to you. Thank you so much.